Welcome everybody to Untapped, episode 27. I think I got that right. Are we on 27? That sounds right.
27, getting there, yeah.
Man, we got up there. We're almost at 30. Sweet. Good job. It's all right. All right. Man, so good to be back. We've had so much going on, it seems like, with you moving across the country and starting new fight stuff. I just moved into a new house and everything like that. And we kept this podcast going, man. I'm
I
proud of
know.
it. Sure.
How's
Thank
the
you
new
for
house?
that. What's
How's
that?
the new house? You guys
Oh,
are in the
dude,
new house?
we are so grateful. Definitely exceeded expectations. It feels so good to be here, man. It feels, I can't ever think of time. I think this is the nicest house I've lived in my life, and
Wow.
especially in terms of just being low stress, comfortable. I don't know if maybe there's a honeymoon stage of the house or something, you know what I mean? But man,
Right.
oh man, we all have our own. I think it was getting tough with so many people in our family to not have we were sharing a lot of spaces, and we're setting it up so that we still are forced to have to hang out together, but now we've got a lot more space. And I think the house being nicer and newer and everything like that, it just makes you feel a little bit better.
Good
Or
vibe.
yeah, yeah.
There's
No,
something about being too, like with training or with battling cancer, stuff like that. I think just being comfortable and the vibes in the house, the energy in the house plays a role into sickness, recovery, any type of stuff to do with that.
man, that's so true, man. And it kind of makes me sad for people that are in a spot in their life where maybe they're battling cancer and they have to live in a really
Right.
difficult sort of situation. And I've had those times, and you're right. It's that extra stress of your environment that can play a role. But then I go back to a theme I want to maybe talk about later today. I want to catch up with you is kind of tightening your belt and getting uncomfortable. Like, we would have never gone into this house had we not put ourselves through some crazy sacrifice. It's kind of like you wouldn't be at Fight Club FC doing this incredible thing right now had you not put yourself through some serious discomfort.
Right. I think just on my end, like if I didn't do all the training I did up until I got to Kill Cliff, then like I literally stopped playing baseball and showed up to Kill Cliff 2 weeks later, basically on a tryout,
Crazy.
and had to fit in or like do the best I could. And if I didn't go through all that, basically quote unquote hell,
Yeah.
um, then I wouldn't have been prepared. So I wouldn't have been able to like take advantage of the opportunity. It's like one thing to put yourself in a position to get the opportunity, but then another thing to be prepared for the opportunity once it comes. You know what I mean?
Good word. Good word. Yeah, it's really tough too to get to manage that stress level of the change, and then making that commitment, like you're saying, to be healthy, to have you got to change some habits usually when you adapt to a new environment. So setting yourself up to succeed in that new environment, so you're not coming in with additional stress or additional dysfunction that makes it hard to merge into that.
Yeah, for sure. I watch some of these guys fight and then I see them train and then I watch them fight on TV, and you can tell the difference is like the moment of the fight, you can just tell they're tense in there
Mm,
rather than like maybe at the gym, they're kind of playing around, having fun. It's more loose, but they perform better and they get on TV and now everything's so tense because of the stress of everything else around. It's the same cage. I mean, it's the
yeah.
same just I think about like baseball. Okay, we're throwing the mound is still the same distance from home as it is at New York Yankee Stadium and a bullpen in our backyard.
Mm,
The cage at Tim's gym is
yeah.
the same size, maybe close to the same size as an amateur cage, but guys can maybe fight better in that cage just because the pressure of the crowd, maybe they feel like they have to perform for the gym. I was talking to Henry Hoof about it, and he said sometimes guys can't fight for me because they wear Kill Cliff FC so proud that it's too much pressure for them. They'd
Oof.
be better off fighting for a small gym because it's less pressure and they can just go out there and fight. But
Wow.
now they have to represent Kill Cliff, and that is just too much pressure for guys.
Cool, man. I can't
I
even.
kind of went off on a tangent,
No,
but
I love it. It makes me think about, I don't know if you listen to Mike Perry on Joe Rogan.
I think a little bit of it, not the whole thing.
Way better than I thought. I thought it was Rogan did a really good job at getting out the best of Mike Perry and getting into some. I'm a fan. I like the guy. He's cool to me. I've enjoyed watching his career, and he switching over to the bare knuckles or whatever. And he was talking about when he goes into a fight, it feels like sometimes it was just meant to be that he was going to lose or meant to be that he was going to win. And
Mhm.
it's kind of telling of what you're saying, like it's a mindset thing, but it's also everything else around you in your environment. I think if you can kind of feel that if you're coming in there tense and you already are in that mindset, well then you're in your environment hasn't been good, then you're setting yourself up for a loss. So it's almost like he was kind of saying it's predetermined before you get into the octagon.
Yeah, I feel like especially a lot of that has to do with your training. Like I even feel when I slip up on training, maybe I take rounds off or I slack a little bit, I eat like shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's more the mental, like me knowing the guilt of that. Now that affects my confidence, and now that is what creates the stress. That's the stress that I'm carrying, not necessarily, oh, my girlfriend broke up with me, this moment's too big, whatever. For me, the stress that I carry is like, okay, did I do enough? Did I skip out on these reps? Did I train hard enough? And then on the flip side of that, the confidence comes from, fuck, I know I worked harder than this dude. I know this dude's not training with these guys. I know this, that, and the other. So now I have all this confidence going in where I know I've just like Sean talks about it as well. I know I've done everything I can do. Now things are just going to play out how they can. But if I didn't do everything I think I could, now that's what stresses me out.
That's so good. That's so good. I've switched over to chemos and we're kind of recovering, and I'm kind of making trying to make a parallel here. But the my oxygen, red blood cells have been low in this one. I think it's a combination of things. So for each chemo, it's like a 3 week cycle. So the first week I'm way low. So making efforts to run or to do anything that's cardio wise, everything just gets really weak really fast. So when I try to roll jujitsu, it's almost like one of those nightmares that, I don't know if you had those, but you get a nightmare where you just can't do anything. You're just trying to fight and nothing works at all. And it's kind of
Mhm.
like that. But I noticed that coming back and getting my red blood cells up, working, pushing through. If I get a day where I get bad sleep, that's only one day I got bad sleep and I think, oh, I can just make up for it later. But it actually takes me back quite a bit because it puts stress into that next day. It took away my training and rebuilding, and it just cut me down in the overall progression of me getting my oxygen back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think I listened to some podcasts and they were saying if sleep was a supplement, it would be banned in all sports because it's that powerful. Like if sleep, it's much more powerful than all these things. But people don't. I would say 90%, maybe even more than that. Don't even. They're not even aware of it. Watching TV, maybe vaping. Um, what else? Just stuff that is they don't think it affects their sleep. And little do you know, you went 2, 3, 4 years without getting quality deep and REM sleep. And now you wonder why you're depressed. Now you wonder why you don't feel good. I could go on and on
Oh, I'm
about
so
this.
with you, man. It's something I admire. I think we might have mentioned it before. I admire so much of Sugar Sean and also Tim is how much they stress that sleep. Sugar, we said it before, number one sleep score in the UFC. It's like if somebody's competing at that high of a level of combat where stress is such a big thing, it's almost like there's so many parallels between being like a cancer patient and battling and getting ready for those fights. And if he's become that good at sleep, people should be taking notes. They should be looking at everything that Tim and Sean are teaching. Writing that stuff down because that is the top of the line for so much health benefits. I mean, it could be the difference between somebody not being able to lose weight and losing weight. I mean, maybe their sleep is just off, and it's no matter what they do, they just can't shake that metabolism to get that extra weight off.
Right. I think people just that people don't have a clue how much it takes, or I'm not too I don't know what it is. I think people don't have a clue. They look at Sean or they look at Tim or they look at these people that are successful and they just look at social media and they think that's their life.
Yeah.
But to be at that level, I'm seeing it firsthand now at Killcliff. Like to be at the level Sean's at, it takes a lot of fucking work, a lot of work, and years and years and years of just. I feel like I'm in a similar position. Maybe that's a little bit boastful to say similar position, but kind of similar circumstance to Sean was when he first went to the lab of like, fuck, every single day, just get my ass beat pretty much every single day.
Can't imagine
But
it possible.
I think I seeing Sean and seeing that play out, I just and talking to Tim back and forth, it's like just keep showing up. Sean did that for 4, 5, 6 years. Just keep showing up, just keep showing up, and then tides will turn. And if you're the best guy in this gym, chances are it's probably not going to happen. But if you're the best guy in that gym, you're a world champion.
Oh yeah,
And I think that's kind of what happened at the lab with Sean.
it's so true. That's such a good one, man. Speaking of which, with the work you put in over time, you're looking pretty jacked right now. What's your lifting routine look like?
I've been lifting twice a week. I've been doing one more just because I'm training so much. Um, and my emphasis has been on the MMA and more wrestling, I would say, and then just getting ready for the fight. So not so much strength conditioning because a lot of times I'm just trying to recover. But when I'm lifting on Wednesdays and Sundays, taking Saturdays off right now. That'll switch up this coming week. But Sunday's my heavy lift day, so I can all I do on Sunday is lift. I do condition like today I did 8 miles on the bike and then a little rest and then I went and lifted. So basically that day is just focused on lifting so I can really get in a solid lift because a lot of times you train if I train 2, 3 hours at Kill Cliff, now my lift isn't going to be as good because I'm just depleted from that whole training session. And like it's hard enough in itself, and then it's even harder when you're getting your ass kicked the whole time. Like winning rounds is still hard, but losing every round is even harder.
Yeah, man. I can only imagine. I can only identify from an angle of when I'm trying to come back. I feel like I've been in that rut for the past month. Like literally, I finally I think I've won on by 2 points, and it's like we're not supposed to be like it's like a real thing, but you get competitive in
Mhm.
the gym when you're going against somebody and the rolls are hard, especially when somebody's new and they're trying to take you out. But man, I was just in this rut where I just was dang man, I need to find some other old cancer patients so I can get a win
Yeah.
here. But you know what I mean? It's
I,
like you start on that, man, and it's so there's some days where I just wanted to cry, man, because you just feel just beat and just demoralized.
yeah, I think like even for me, maybe it was last week or the week before. It's just training there is so it's just hard. Like I get beat a lot, like I said. Um, and then I leave there and I'm like, fuck, man. But then I have to almost say, okay, these dudes are world champions. Like you're almost sometimes I feel like almost set the expectation too high, which kind of makes me who I am.
Yeah,
But also I can't get so wrapped up in that where now I'm not having fun or I'm
there you go.
constantly pissed off. But I'm going with world champions and guys that have all American Division 1 wrestlers, this, that, and the other. Like it's you're gonna be the nail for a while and just being okay with that rather than getting like pissed off about it. Cause I feel like some guys can maybe get so mad about just losing that it ruins the whole thing for them. And then they never get to turn the table because they just quit.
You're so right. I really feel like I can feel I've gotten to know you pretty good now over 3 years. I can feel there's some you're working hard, you're going through, you got some stress, but at the root, I feel you're so much more just in a better place, just so much more content, and you're so you've got something. It's a little frustrating, and you're trying to chase it and you work towards it. Before, I felt like the stress was it was just kind of it was a little bit different. Like you just were really being eaten up by, especially getting, when you went up to Oregon. I mean, that hurt me.
Yeah.
I didn't like that, man.
Yeah. I think now my mindset is just as soon as I book that fight and especially train, like now I'm trained, I know on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm basically fighting. because sparring like we spar pretty hard. I'm not getting dropped or anything, but guys they're coming at you. So I think just that, like, I don't know, it changes your mindset a little bit. Where now it's like, okay, I'm going to war in 8 weeks, and I'm gonna train just like I'm fighting in the UFC. I know it's an amateur fight. I know it's not that big of a thing, whatever. But I'm gonna treat this fight no different than I would if I'm gonna fight for a title.
This is
And I
big.
think if I do that, then I'll have a lot of confidence going in because I know other guys at this level are not doing that.
Yeah, this is a big fight. This could arguably be the biggest fight of your life. It's your very first fight. That's the hardest one. It's the most stress. It's probably where people quit and give up the most often, not being able to manage or deal with that stress coming into the fight. And you almost wonder, some of these guys that are coming into fights, they almost have it easier. It's like that. What do they say? Ignorance is bliss, because they don't even,
Yeah.
some of these guys coming in amateur fights, they don't even know how bad they are, and so they're coming in with less stress. I mean, I feel like that's an ideal opponent at this level.
Right. I think especially like amateurs almost a little bit, it's just a little bit sketchy because guys just come in, duck their head, and they're swinging for the fucking fences. Where a higher level guy is fighting more strategically. That was my only thing with Kill Clip is okay, I'm sparring these guys that are in the UFC, but this guy I'm fighting is not gonna move like a UFC guy. He's
Mm,
gonna move like an amateur guy.
that's
So
true.
there's gonna be things that he does that I haven't seen because I've just been training with such high level guys. And maybe down the road 2 to 3 more weeks, maybe I'll go to a gym and spar some amateur guys. I'm not exactly sure the route I'm gonna take, but that's been a thought in my mind is like, okay, this guy's gonna do a little bit probably different things. But I think at the end of the day, like we're gonna touch gloves and then I'm gonna fight. Like I d- I personally think I'll be better than him grappling. I'll be better than him striking. I'll be bigger, faster, stronger. So I should be able to beat him anywhere. There's not really like if I just don't see anywhere where that guy beats me. So that gives me a lot of confidence. I'm not too concerned with the crazy amateur like ducking the head and swinging because I'm probably gonna do it as well because I haven't felt the adrenaline of a real fight yet. So we'll see, but
I don't think
I'm
so.
excited about it.
I think you're going to rise to the occasion, and that'd be an interesting question to ask Tim, Sean, or Jakar. Is it's kind of like that going against that spazzy white belt? Is there actually any benefit to that versus just doing your thing and just training how you are? But this guy fighting you, he's lucky. He doesn't even know this is going to be the biggest claim to fame of his life right now. I mean,
Yeah, I hope it. I mean, I'm super confident going in, so I feel good. It's just things will change when I'm walking out. Like, how am I gonna handle all these emotions? But you know, the only way I'm gonna find out is by doing it. So
oh yeah,
that's why I was super excited to like let's get the first one over with, so that way I know how it feels. I know how to prepare, and I've been through it. So now we can start strategically planning the next one, the next one, the next one. Because ultimately, the plan is not to be a amateur fighter. The plan is to be a pro. So this fight. It means a lot, but it really doesn't mean anything. I knocked this dude out. I knocked the next 5 guys out. I'm still in it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
the goal is not to be an amateur. The goal is to get paid to do this, and
Heck yeah. That's
I got a long ways to go.
that's the passion right now. That's the fun. That's the fun part of it. That's the heart.
Yeah.
That's also the hard work behind it. We got July 7th. We got Jimmy and Alex. They're both fighting a Rage in the Cage event. Alex is 135, and I think Jimmy's 155. So kind of looking forward to those.
Jiu-Jitsu Alex, he's a blue belt, pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, he's been
Really?
working hard on his striking. His striking is looking pretty. It's come a long way. Jimmy
Yeah.
looks. I've never seen Jimmy look the best I've ever seen him his last fight, and he looks even better now. But Jakar training him is just so beautiful to watch. I mean, I feel like it's such a perfect fit. You got Tim
Mhm.
over Jimmy, and then you got Jakar because Jimmy's just got that kind of the Jakar style, the explosive sort of style with his
I
strike.
messaged I messaged Jimmy last week because I was seeing he was working. They did their wrestling, what or the kids camp thing out there. and I
Yeah.
saw that Jimmy was working with the wrestlers, and I could just kind of see. I've been watching him for a while, and I just messaged him because I remember he came in. He had been gone for a while, and he came into the other. I don't know if he wants me talking about this on the
No, he's
podcast,
good.
but whatever, I'll do it anyway.
I vouch for it.
Um, but I remember I saw him. He came into the other gym when we were still at the other. This is probably 2, 3 years ago,
Yep.
and he had been gone for a while. And he walked in. I could just tell, like, man, he is something has been going on. Like, he's not in a great spot. And then I don't think since that moment to now, he hasn't really missed a week at the gym.
Yep.
From I've been gone a lot, but everything I've
Yeah.
seen on social media, when I was there, he was there. And just to see the trajectory of his life change, I messaged him because I was like, dude, it's pretty cool to see. And he went to Joey's with me and you, so
That's
that was
right.
really.
I
He's
forgot
just been
about that.
he's
That was
just been on the right path. So to see his life completely change,
yeah.
regardless of the outcomes of the fights, like he's gonna do great. But he's changed his life from he seemed super defeated in that moment, and now he's got his confidence back. It seems like things are going good. He's fighting. He's having success. So
Yeah.
I just messaged him to let him know, like, hey, dude, that's cool to cool to see. You're changing a lot of those little kids' lives, and
Yes.
it's just cool to see.
Dude, you're so right about that. He's watching him coach the kids class because now I have Luke, my youngest 12-year-old in jiu-jitsu and wrestling. And man, he has just become his coaching is just fun to watch with the kids. He's just become so good, such a high skill level, so much care. And some people are just gifted teachers. You can see how he's impacting so many kids' life. Luke alone, he wasn't allowed to do jiu-jitsu and wrestling for a while, so it was kind of a frustrating thing for the family.
Right.
So him being in there now three weeks, his improvement has just been insane, and a lot of that's from Jimmy and those guys, Sean Fairchild, Mariah, JJ, Tim. It's just the kids program. I'm pretty proud of them. They've done a great job.
Yeah, it seems like even the what's it's not like an amateur, but it's a kind of like a fitness class, the MMA fitness
Oh
after.
yeah,
It
yeah.
seems like that's growing as well.
Oh, dude, that's another great one. Watching JJ coach, he's such a good coach. And then the guys in there, you can see their start. A lot of those guys, but when they first came in, they look like they were little, they didn't have that eye of the tiger. They got this. A lot of those guys are getting the eye of the tiger now. So it's been fun to watch them grow. Man, I was thinking we got a shout out to Taya, a happy birthday over there for this week.
Yeah, happy birthday, Taya. Birthday was oh, and my brother had a baby
Ah,
uh
no way.
2 days
Congrats,
ago. Yeah,
man.
yeah, baby boy, healthy, so that's good. I'm
Yeah.
walking in here because my phone's about to overheat. I can feel it.
What's the temperature there?
Probably 90, but it's super humid,
Oh yeah, man, that's
which
hot.
is it's nice for the to cut weight because I'm sweating a lot. Like I'll lose in between like sessions, I'll lose like 8 pounds a training session.
It's a natural built-in sauna, man.
Yeah.
That's fun stuff. We got you know, Kai is really taken off with the lifting, and he talks about you a lot. You're such a more of an influence than you think over the kids. It's so fun to watch him because I was trying to figure out where I wanted because I it's been hard for me because I'll be kind of sick, but I was coaching each boy, helping CJ, helping Kai, helping Luke, driving them places, and then I wasn't able to focus on training for my health. So it was, and I was
Yeah.
like, I got to get these guys, but then just let go and be okay with somebody else managing their coaching, which is really hard for me with, especially with the lifting and the exercise stuff. But so I figured, well, age 13 for Kai is something that might be good is just to get him in strong and learn the basics. So I got him training at Die Hard with Tim Sparks over there. Oh man,
Nice.
he's been loving it. It's so fun to watch him. Tim's got him eating protein, so he's eating, 5 times protein a day. He's just super dialed in on the training now. Again, 9 pounds. When you're a kid, it's fun to watch him grow. So
Right.
he gained 9 pounds. Luke's gaining 5 pounds. They've been sleeping like crazy. I'm glad. I keep thinking of when you had told me that I think somebody had told your dad, I just let him sleep at this age.
Yeah.
That's where they grow.
Yep, let it I remember they were like, "You grow 2 times as much," so my dad was like, "No, don't wake him up, let that boy grow."
Man, oh man, we've been talking about what to eat for breakfast a lot. What are you eating for breakfast right now? Like when you first meal of the day?
Well, I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight because right now I'm like 93 to 95,
Yeah,
and I
no,
would like to be like 88 to 90, uh, especially like probably like 3, 4 weeks out to be like 88.
oh, that's perfect.
So now I'm just eating egg white, like an egg white omelet, and then maybe some fruit, maybe just one slice of bread. So it's like egg whites, I think turkey, tomatoes, red peppers, and feta cheese, like a little bit of cheese, and then maybe one piece of bread and some fruit.
Are you doing like Ezekiel bread or something like that?
Just like a multi-grain. It's actually right here, so I'll see what it is.
We've been getting
Got it
into
right
what
here in the
bread to
fridge.
eat too. We've been doing Sugar's been on the Ezekiel bread, so we kind of followed suit there. But I know
It
there's a lot.
just it just says organic bread, 21 whole grains and seeds. 5 grams of protein, 5 grams of fiber, 260 milligrams of omega-3s, and 22 grams of whole grains.
That sounds exactly like an Ezekiel bread, whatever it is. That the yolks. How come not eating egg yolks?
I don't really know. I just think I would just think that egg whites is gonna be less calories than just from a trying to lose weight standpoint. I don't really know the whole science into it, but I would say that if I'm trying to lose weight, maybe egg whites for now until I get down and then switch. I will have maybe for lunch or something, I'll have the actual egg. I'll put an egg on top of whatever I'm eating or whatever. But in for breakfast, I'm not a big breakfast guy in general. So I just try to keep that one, get in what I can and then train and then kind of lunch is almost whatever I want. And then dinner is back down to strict right now.
That's such a good plan. I, Tim Sparks was talking to Kai about because he was having a little trouble getting in the calories in the morning. It's hard sometimes. You wake up and stuff, and you're trying to grow. And he was saying that too, is that if you the egg whites, even though you might be losing some nutrients from the egg yolk, and there's people that won't eat the yolk because of the cholesterol, but I think it helps cholesterol, and that's another side avenue. But those it's more easily to assimilate. You won't feel like weighed down. And that's so tough
Mm,
before you go train and you have just a little bit of stress slash excitement going through you, and it's just harder. You don't want to carry that food into your training and have it come back and haunt you.
yeah, it's crazy because I don't know like the a lot of the science or the even reasons why maybe I eat this and I don't really know like the science behind it. But a lot of times when I the way I feel, it pretty much like if I look into it, then it links up with the science. So basically I just go off, okay, I think that this at least feels lighter, so I'm gonna eat this if I'm trying to lose weight. Or maybe this feels heavier when I eat it, so I'm trying to gain weight, maybe I'll eat this. Just like, okay, when I eat red meat is a little bit it feels a little bit heavier. So if I'm trying to gain weight, I'm gonna up my red meat. If I'm trying to lose weight, I'm gonna cut a little bit of red meat and then maybe do salmon, chicken, turkey, something a little bit that feels a little bit leaner, which I would assume is actually leaner.
I think that's better for an athlete too, because you don't want to get bogged down with having to think about that you're eating so much that it's just down into this detailed thing where you're spending so much time on it and you're over hyper focusing on the food. I think that's a better way to see it, just keeping it more. And those are backed by science, anyways. You know what I mean?
Right. I think if like with Sean, like he has Dan Gardner, if finances allow for that and you can just you can do that and pay for it, no problem, then that obviously that's the route to go. But for me, I'm just trying to do like what I can and the best I can and with the knowledge I have. And then maybe, okay, a little bit more money, start getting paid to fight or whatever. Now I can start reaching out to these different people to start working on stuff.
With the stool samples and the food allergens.
Right. Right. I'm doing what I can now, which I feel like is more than most, but
Yeah,
there's obviously a progression.
man, you're on the right track. I was watching. I've been kind of keeping up with Sterling a little bit. I'm just interested in what he's doing on his side. And I don't know if you saw him on Jake Paul's podcast.
Yeah, I watched that one.
That was a good one. And then I kind of moved over and watched a recent sparring session of his, and he was saying we're getting tall, lanky guys that reflect sugar. And I was watching the his sparring session with the guy, and I was like, this dude is no sugar Sean. So
Yeah,
that's
you
like,
don't see too many people.
how are you gonna find that?
I think I'm getting more into the striking too, like because I'm striking a lot more, it's become a more and I want to be a striker. It's just more exciting. I think that's what the UFC wants. I
Yeah,
think that's just what anyone would rather see.
yeah.
Um, but for Sean to be able to switch stances so fluidly and just kind of effortless, it makes his footwork even easier. So instead of having to make such a dramatic movement to keep somebody to his power hand, he can just switch stances. And so he has to move half as much as everybody else does because they're trying to keep the guy in the position so he can land the right hand. It doesn't matter. I'll just switch stance to southpaw and now I have a left hand. So now my two is my left hand.
That's a
I
future
think
striking. That's it
people
right there.
it almost cuts down half the work if you can strike from both sides. So advice for I guess not everybody can do it, but if you're up and coming strike trying to learn how to kickbox or whatever, do everything from both sides. I would say that's with jujitsu or anything, but especially striking because the guys that can switch stance, I feel it even when I'm sparring, when I switch stances, it's like it takes them 2 or 3 seconds to, "Okay, now he's southpaw. Now he's southpaw, now I have to make a read from southpaw." And then, okay, by the time they've made that read, now I switched again, now he's orthodox. So now it takes them 2 to 3 seconds to register, "Okay, he's orthodox now." By that time, I may have already landed 2 or 3 punches.
Oh man, that's so good. I think a lot of the striking influence there is lingering from boxing, where boxing is an entirely different skill set, where you probably want to favor one side over the other. But in MMA, you've got all these variables to it with the kicks and knees and all that kind of stuff. So this with the stances and everything, I think it's gonna become you have to in the future. You're gonna
Mm,
have to be able to
I
switch
agree.
stances, and if you don't, you're gonna have a huge liability.
Even for guys that wrestle, guys that okay, now he has his front or his left leg forward, and then I'm focused. Okay, I'm gonna try to set up a shot, shoot on that leg. Now he switched stances. Now that leg's no longer there. My takedowns, unless you're a really high level wrestler and it's just kind of natural for you, it's gonna be tough to take somebody down. And when they're constantly switching because you don't know what leg you're gonna grab, unless you just guess and time it right. But I guess that's what some guys maybe hope to do. I think if you're a super high level wrestler, Bryce Meredith, guys like that, then that read almost becomes second nature. So you just do it, you don't even know you're doing it. But for most guys that haven't wrestled since they're 2 or 3, or not 2, but 3 to 4, then I think it's a little bit more difficult.
No, that's so true. I loved watching the Strickland fight last night with his striking too. It almost looks he keeps such a good state, I think, in his striking when he's battling, and he's really just he's become that. I think he's improving. I think I've seen him improve every fight with his timing and his distance. So he's just become so
Yeah.
good with that stuff, man.
He
It's a
stands super tall, but nobody tries to take him down. But I guess he's pretty good on the ground. I don't know how he is on the ground, but from what I've heard, he's pretty good. Because
sprawling defending the takedown. It seemed like he's pretty solid.
yeah, but he stands so
Yeah,
upright,
it's crazy.
which you would think would make it hard to
Yeah,
defend a takedown, but I don't know. He does pretty good at it.
yeah. It shows there's. I mean, wrestling is a huge factor in the sport right now. Where to get to the top, you got to be a pretty good wrestler, but it's still striking. Kind of can negate everything. I think the best strikers are not only the more fun to watch, but if the evolution is coming to where you can defend the takedown, it's kind of like Sugar. I think he's the model for the future of the sport.
Yeah, I think it's so hard with the wrestlers because some of these wrestlers, I feel like, It's like, okay, this guy can just take you down and he'll beat you. Like this guy in Bellator is better than this guy that I see in the UFC. This is when I see it in the gym. This guy, I'm not gonna say any names, but okay, there's this Bellator guy. He's 18-0, but he doesn't know how to strike very good. But nobody can stop him wrestling. But then there's this UFC guy that's in the UFC. He can strike, but he doesn't know how to wrestle very good. But the UFC is gonna take the striker over the guy that's 18-0 as a wrestler because the wrestler is just going to hold you down,
Right.
pump you a little bit, sniff your crotch,
Yeah.
and then the fans don't want to see that. I mean, unless you like seeing that, but most people are going to want to watch somebody get knocked out. And I think when I see, it's not always the best. Who's the best fighter? It's not that. It's not always that way. At least in the gym, this gym, it seems like some of these dudes in Bellator are killers. They beat everybody in the gym, but they don't know how to strike. They'll take you down, they'll stay on top of you, and they'll beat you up. They make a really good living that way in Bellator, but to be on Sean's level, that type of stardom, it's I don't know that that style gets that done.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of like the if you're fight the guys agreed to fight, they got to fight, and it gets frustrating watching fights sometimes when a guy is it just flashes like Anderson Silva had a couple fights like that where he just would not fight for the first round and he'd stay back and not engage with the person. If they came close, it's almost like he was running away. Well, that could be successful and get it done and end up winning the fight, but nobody wants to see that. It's almost like
Right.
there's rules there that haven't been made that you know the UFC has to kind of keep in mind so that they're trying to build, they're trying to make money, they're trying to be able to support the fighters and to build an entertainment system. So it's almost like that's a mandatory part of the sport now.
Yeah, because some of these wrestlers, if it just comes to okay, who's gonna win, dude, there's some of these guys they'll win, they'll take you down and they'll hold you down for 5 minutes, but nobody's gonna nobody wants to watch it. So those guys, it seems like those guys will still make a living, but they're not gonna be like a star, which I guess is that's cool too, but for me, I didn't wrestle coming up, so to do that route, it's almost impossible because I'll probably never catch those guys in wrestling, and I'd rather knock people out anyway.
I'm just getting better every day. Well, I think we hit our 30 minutes limit. That might be good, and we can hit another one real
Yeah,
soon.
that was fun.
I think that was perfect. Well, all right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching episode 27 Untapped. Love you guys. Please like and subscribe. Have the best day.